to retaliation attacks from Iran. So right now, a lot of uncertainty with this conflict and what exactly lies ahead. Kelly?
Yeah, that's the big question. Tom, thank you. And earlier on News Nation Live, political analyst Matt Klink joined us, weighing in on the president's threat to launch 1,000 missiles if Iran makes an attempt on his life.
I don't think there's a deal to be had here. Right now, a war of words is relatively harmless. But I will say that the Iranians' rhetoric has really up with the funeral for the new leader's father, who was taken out by the Israelis. All that being said, is this whole conflict is on again, off again, and either the United States needs to continue bombing until the Iranians really come to the table, or just admit that this thing is going nowhere fast and then figure out a solution. But I don't think the public can keep it straight, and it's probably very difficult for the negotiators to figure out what's up and what's not, because it's been on again, off again for about 3 months.
Right. And at the same time, we've had military involvement. We've also been working to squeeze them economically, removing those sanctions on oil this week. What do you believe will be the key to getting them in that weakened position to come to the table and make a deal?
Well, I think it's a combination of two things. One, it's the overwhelming military might that we possess. Iran still has the ability to fire missiles at targets. They're largely falling flat. America's military has been able to literally pick and choose any target that we want throughout the entire country. The other one is that the restoration of sanctions on oil makes a big difference. And I think it's that combination that ultimately brings Iran to its knees. But let's not forget the Iranian Republican Guard Corps. They want to keep the Gulf in turmoil because it allows them to have strict control over the domestic environment at home. So they may never want a ceasefire. And I think that American negotiators need to factor that into their calculations.
Right. Well, I want to switch gears here too, Matt. Get your take on that bipartisan housing bill that became law. Even though the president refused to sign it, he argued that the Save America Act should have been included here. Some say this took the wind out of the sails of Republicans who wanted to call this a win for the party. Do you agree, or is a win here?
A win is a win. This was the really sad part here is this was an example of Republicans and Democrats not just working together, but negotiating through a very complex issue to do something that was right for the country. Part of me says that President Trump knew that because Congress was going to remain in session, that if he didn't sign it, the bill would become law. Arcane here, Article 1, Section 7 of the Constitution outlines what happens here. But the reality is that it's a win for everybody. It's a win for the American people. It will hopefully make it easier for people to buy single-family homes. And he did deny the signing ceremony to Republicans, but he also didn't give Democrats the optics that they wanted either. So it's just kind of I think they should have celebrated this because it was a big one, but Trump wants the SAVE Act and he's willing to put the celebrations on hold until he gets it.
Yeah, he has certainly made that clear. To the Senate race in Maine, wanted to get your thoughts here too. Plattner officially bowing out of this race. We sort of saw this coming after that statement from Bernie Sanders especially. Who do you see as a strong candidate to replace him now?
Well, there are several candidates that have been floated. This is a short 60-day campaign or 6-week campaign. I think that Troy Jackson is probably the front runner here. He's a fifth-generation logger from Maine. He is a progressive on economic views. He's been described to me as Graham Plattner without as much baggage. And I think that he is best positioned to work through the 600 votes that he needs to get that nomination. And I think that he will give Susan Collins a tough race and one that could likely determine the outcome of which party holds the U.S. Senate in 2027.
Well, for Jackson and any candidate who may replace Plattner, there was a lot of excitement around Plattner's campaign. Can the Democrats keep that momentum going with a candidate like Jackson or another?
I think that that's part of the challenge that the Democrats face is that they're all for democracy until democracy didn't work the way that they wanted it to. But I think that they need to look for a candidate to replace that energy that was on the Democratic ticket. So they need to find someone that motivates the base, but is also safe enough to the moderates that they say, we like this person. He would be a good representative for Maine. I think that Mr. Jackson has that opportunity. He appears to be the front runner. But again, I would hope that they would take some serious time and do some thorough vetting of the candidate, because now they don't get a do-over. They have to get it right this time.
Right. And they would argue they're doing everything by book with him bowing out of the race. We've heard that criticism from Republicans, too. Matt, I want to get your take here, too, because Susan Collins, she's probably in a stronger position today than she was about a week ago. But Democrats, they do have a chance to reset this contest with a nominee. So whose side would you rather be on today?
Oh, I would rather, even if she had faced Mr. Plattner, I would much rather be Susan Collins, because she's proven that she can run and win as an underdog. That being said, that the Democrats select the right candidate, they can recapture that energy. This is going to be a really, really close race, and both candidates are going to have to run really strong campaigns. It's going to be really interesting to watch how this one plays out.
It will be. And we only have about 20 seconds left, but I want to sneak this in here because Maine is being considered a bellwether, not the whole story. What will an outcome in this race tell you about the chances the Senate flips to a Democratic majority?
The Democrats need all the cards to fall into place correctly, and the Republicans only need to stop one or two Senate races, and they keep control of the U.S. Senate. So it's very important for the Democrats and equally important for the Republicans.
Also, 8 Apache helicopter pilots, they are back in the skies today after the Pentagon lifted their suspension. Those pilots were involved in a 4th of July flyover in South Carolina that caught criticism for how low they allegedly were flying. Video shows the event, these choppers flying close to the shoreline where people were swimming. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says there will be no punishment for the pilots and no investigation. In the meantime, the Trump administration is considering putting up permanent fencing near the White House, all in an effort to increase security. Now, under this plan, the U.S. Secret Service and the White House would retain the ability to open and close sections